Hello. In this video I will do something I never do. I'll start with giving you a title for this video. I'm naming it What For? I'll be posing a few questions to Mr. Museveni and some of the people that served with him. I mean, they went and launched a war against governments from Idi Amin to Obote, Tito Okello Lutwa, until they came in power in 1986. So I'll be asking, what did you do this for? I'll share with you a story. Mr. Museveni telling us about how he killed someone. And I'm asking him, why did you kill this person? What was the purpose? What for?
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem. Thank you.
Hello once again, my name is Mordecai Marissa. I do really appreciate you so much for your continued support, sharing of my content, your opinions, and everything you do to spread the message of change. Look, Museveni, the president of Uganda, wants to be revered, wants to be respected and loved. He would like to go down in history as a revolutionary. Matter of fact, he calls himself Sabarani, warrior. He wants to be put in a class or category of folks like Nelson Mandela or Thomas Sankara or Julius Nyerere, to mention but a few. But it is very unfortunate that history won't be good to Mr. Museveni. He will go down in history as one of the worst leaders of Uganda because of the opportunity he had and he wasted. I mean, when you look at those people he wants to be compared to, you wonder, what was their type of leadership and what did they do when they had power? But before I go into that, watch this video of Mr. Museveni using God as a scapegoat. He's going to tell us that he killed someone. He's telling a story of when they were fighting the government of Idi Amin. And you know, villain Idi Amin, according to history. But he's going to tell you what he did.
In my struggles, I have seen God's intervention. I have seen it myself. I'll give you one example. In January 1973, we were here, underground, fighting Amin. And we had put our group in the forest in Mayuge. And Valerian Raheru, Martin Mwesiga, and myself were in a car, our Volkswagen 1600, driving from Kampala to join our group in Mayuge Forest, Kitiarera Forest. It was around 7, it was getting a bit dark. We didn't know that Amin had got information about us and had attacked our camp. We didn't know because there was no communication at that time. So I was the one driving. We passed through Jinja, Magamaga. Then at that junction, the new road now, Musita, going to Mayuge, we turned. I was the one driving. Then when we had driven some distance, we found a truck, a lorry parked on our side of the road. But then an army, a lorry which turned out to be army, was also coming from the other side. So because we wanted to pass, we stopped. I stopped the car behind the lorry. When the army truck came, instead of continuing, they stopped. They said, "You people, who are you?" We said, we are going somewhere, Karuba, some place. We're going to Karuba. the fellow, I think there were 2 or 3 soldiers. I think they had dropped soldiers and they were coming back, but they were armed. So they thought for a moment as if they wanted to continue, but then one of them got out. So you people, get out of the car. Now, Rwaheru was sitting here. Me, I was the one driving. This fellow was standing on my window now. As I was still opening the door, Rwaheru shot him from here. Shot him, he fell down. Said, "Mama, mama, mama." Then I silenced him with the pistol. Now, the other soldier, maybe 1 or 2, apparently they ran and hid under the vehicle. So after killing this one, we were struggling to turn the lorry, our vehicle, in a squeeze. The other people were hiding below the vehicle. They could have shot us, all of us. So you wonder why you can see here there was something else. Yes, we did our part, but there was a part which was totally out of our control. These fellows just panicked. I think they feared. That's why they didn't shoot, because they had their guns, so why did they not? So I know God, I have seen God intervening in my own thing.
All right, he says, in my struggle, I have seen God's intervention. I have seen it myself. Now, when he's saying this, you might be like, oh man, the man of God is speaking. He's going to show us how God has been intervening in his stuff, in his life, and how he saved him. And for this purpose, he must be a good man. He goes on to tell us that, it was January of 1973 when they were fighting Idi Amin. Then him and his group that were fighting Idi Amin were headed to Mayuge in a forest. He was driving a car that, among others, were Rwaheru and I think Mwesiga. They were driving from Kampala to Mayuge forest. It was around 7 p.m. Amin and his government had received information about this group of rebels of Museveni and the rest. So as they were headed for Mayuge, or to Mayuge, they were stopped by military officers and they were questioned. He confesses that he lied. Remember, this is a man of God. 2 or 3 armed soldiers, he tells us. Rwaheru was seated in the co-driver's seat as Museveni was driving. As they were being questioned, Rwaheru shot one of the military officers and he fell down and started screaming, "Mama, mama," as Museveni is telling the story. Museveni says, I silenced him. He killed this man who was screaming. And he believes by doing that action, God was the one intervening in his life. Then he goes on to say, the other 2 ran, the other 2 military officers ran and hid underneath a vehicle. He asks, they could have shot us. And he asks, sorry for the noise, it's coming through this crazy or noisy neighborhood. He asks, you wonder why. So Museveni is wondering why he was saved. Okay? Because he believes that, probably he could have lost his life on that day. Revisiting of how dangerous it was. He says, we did our part, but there was a part that was out of our control. He believes that was God's intervention. Now, first of all, he tells us how he killed someone. But he goes on to tell us that when that happened, he still wonders how he was able to survive, because the rest of other military officers had guns. Why didn't they shoot at him? Now, those are very legitimate questions to ask. You'd wonder. We all have incidences where we ask be like, how did I survive? But if you try to understand the perspective of this story, you'd say that he's trying to paint a picture of how he was saved by God for a greater cause. So he was saved by his God then, and he's here today. What is he doing to his people? He's doing the same thing he was fighting. People are being abducted, people are being killed, others are tortured. People are living in absolute poverty. No press rights. The economy is falling, teetering on a brink of complete shutdown, falling completely. Impunity is on the rise. Corruption is unimaginable. So, you survived this so that your establishment can give green lights to what's happening in Uganda. Because when you give that story and you try to tell us that, you know, this is how I survived, you would say, now I may use that opportunity to transform this country. You know, of recent I saw former colleague of mine and friend, Daniel Lutaya, trying to do some sort of, I call it heavy lifting from Museveni. He used some data and statistics to show how there's been some sort of improvement in our economy. If you compare where we are now to where we were in 1986. And his conclusion is, oh, Museveni has done a tremendous job. And this is why I call it heavy lifting. You know, when we were in Chicago at the National Unity Platform convention, Joel Senyonyi, the leader of opposition, used a very beautiful analogy to respond to folks who usually do that heavy lifting from Museveni. He said, this is a very beautiful analogy. He said, suppose you were to travel to Masaka and you are going to set off from Kampala, and it was a Sunday. You were given a vehicle that had gas in it, and you were told, hey, go to Masaka and do this. And you set off, you start driving from Kampala on a Sunday. Let's say Sunday evening. And by Monday morning, you are in Busega. Truth be told, there's some sort of improvement. You have progressed. You're not in the place where you are. I mean, you've been able to drive from Kampala, let's say, Parkhead to Busega in 12 hours. No traffic jam, no nothing. But you've been able to drive, I mean, from Parkhead to Busega for more than 12 hours. You've made some progress. But if we compare with other people who are given the same opportunity, they're already in Masaka. They've only used 2.5 hours or even less. So, yes, we understand Museveni has done some, not tremendous, I'm sorry, some improvement. But to what extent and in comparison with what? Let's look at other countries that were in the same position we were in 1986 and see how they've been able to transform their nations. And don't look too far. Singapore. Look at those countries like Dubai. Go read about their economies. So, when you do the heavy lifting using funny data and analysis, you only leave me to laugh. So, Museveni tells a story of how he killed someone, trying to fight whom they referred to as a dictator, Idi Amin. And I'm not trying to paint a glorious image for Idi Amin leadership. But there's no difference between Idi Amin and Museveni. Matter of fact, Museveni is becoming very worse. We never read in history where Idi Amin was using his own son or children to go after his enemies. Now we have reports of Mr. Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, ordering the torturing of Kakwenza Ruchirabashisha. And all these things are done while he's watching. Now, tell me, is Amin Dada bad or Museveni is even worse? But let's continue. There's another story of Museveni telling us about people who had been killed. This was shortly after the 1986 war. Watch.
These skeletons were right in the encampment of the Bear Battalion, just here, because the evidence is there, the trenches are there, these are the houses. I think this was Amari or something like that, because we attacked it twice. We have attacked this place twice. We attacked it on the 1st of June, 1983, and we attacked it the second time on the 24th of August, 1985. So I know it very well. I know all the hills, and I know. No, after the third time, the first time I am the one who attacked it, the police station. So we know the place very well. Now, what is interesting is that the skulls and the skeletons are right inside the barracks here, where we are standing. Yes. Either in the barracks proper or just on the edge of the barracks. Now, this is very crucial because there could be arguments. Of course, even those are lame arguments, but there could be arguments, people saying that maybe those who were in charge did not know what was happening. Now, the phenomenon here settles that argument because the skulls, the skeletons were right here in the barracks. So any high officer who wanted to see the skulls, the CEO, the brigade commander, the intelligence officers, had every opportunity to see those skulls. Certainly, if they didn't see the skulls, the stench was there to remind them that there were hundreds of dead bodies here.
Look, I am 100% a pacifist. 100%. I don't believe that conflicts or violence or wars can fix problems. I believe there are better ways. So, even looking at that video makes me want to puke. I mean, Museveni talks about people like these are just numbers. But what is he saying? Their skeletons were right in the encampment of the Bear Battalion. Just here, the evidence is there. The trenches are there. These are the houses. I think this was the army because we attacked this place twice. We've attacked this place twice. We attacked it on 1st June 1983 and 24th August 1985. The first time, I'm the one who attacked the police station. You know, when language is used, you might not understand what he's trying to say. When he says, I attacked this place, what he's trying to say, what he's saying actually is, literally, I came and killed people in this place. What for? My question is, when you hear him say, we attacked this place twice. The first time I was the one who attacked that police station. He went there and killed people. That's what he's saying. What for? What for? You would think that, you know, I killed these people so that I can establish a better way of leadership, government. But it is total turmoil in Uganda. He goes on to say, what is interesting is that the skulls and the skeletons are in the barracks right here, where we are standing, either in the barracks proper or just on the edge of the barracks. This is very crucial because there could be good arguments, people saying that maybe the in charge did not know what was happening. The phenomenon here settles that argument. I mean, he was trying to give defense for why they attacked this place. Says that probably these barracks had people who had been killed, and he's trying to say the proof is here. But isn't it even funny? The irony is lost when you say the skulls and the people are here, those ones that had been tortured and killed by the government we were fighting, yet you use the same strategy. The same style, you killed people. But what for? Because we could argue today how many people have been abducted, tortured, and killed. How many of those people we may never see that have been killed? The same style you attack these people for. What for? I don't understand. So history will judge Mr. Museveni very, 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 very bad. He wants to be remembered like revolutionaries. But what do political or people like revolutionaries do? And let's start with the folks of Simon Bolivar of Venezuela. You can, of course, attach him to Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Bolivia. Simon Bolivar was able to unify these Latin American countries, that he was able to liberate them from the Spanish rule and set in motion leadership for these independent countries now. That's what he's remembered for. Let's go look at the history of America. George Washington, after leading the American Revolution, is the guy that shaped the foundation, laid the foundation for the democratic rule in the USA. Imagine, with the experience he had, with the love he had, ruling only one time and saying, I'm done. That's a revolutionary. Let's go to India. Jawaharlal Nehru. He was a guy who played a key role in India's independence from the British rule. And he became the prime minister. He was in power for only 16 years. You're almost clocking 40 years. But you're not content yet. You're still drunk to power. And what makes it worse is you want to be replaced by your son. But you must say, oh, you're talking about other countries. You should give examples of referring to African revolutionaries. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. I mean, he led the fight against apartheid in South Africa and became its first president, first black president. And how long was he in power? Only one term. He could have said, oh, for the 27 years I was jailed, I was imprisoned, tortured, I was abused at Robben Island for fighting against this apartheid regime. I should be in power. I should be compensated for the 27 years I spent in jail. But only one time in his life, I'm done. I mean, okay, those are political revolutionaries. How about social revolutionaries like Martin Luther King Jr.? He never wanted any office. Rosa Parks. And there's a person you usually like to be compared to. You refer to him as your role model. Julius Kambarage Nyerere. Mwalimu. What did he do? He's the one, is some sort of a founding father for African socialism. Promoted economic equality and self-reliance. Is this what you do in Uganda? Or can we go to Singapore, the country I'm talking about, I talked about at the beginning? Lee Kuan Yew was able to transform Singapore into a prosperous and modern nation state. All these are revolutionaries. What are you going, I mean, if you die today, God forbid, what are you going to be remembered for, Mr. Museveni? Poverty, poor education, poor infrastructure, corruption, abduction, torturing and killing of innocent Ugandans, cracking down voices of dissent. What are you going to be remembered for? The poor economy. I mean, so my question is, what for? And you could tell me, please teach me. What for? Why did he have to launch a war? Remember, he fought Idi Amin. For 9 years he was fighting Idi Amin. And then after Idi Amin, Obote comes in 80s, he launches a war against Obote. Took him 6 years. He had to fight Obote then, Tito Okello Lutwa, until he came to power in 1986. What for? This really makes me a little mad. And I'll stop here.
Did you enjoy what you just watched? I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa YouTube channel? Thank you.